This is Metabolic Radio, the podcast dedicated to keeping you informed when it comes to everything fitness. My name is Taylor Empey, and with the help of my co-host Shane Pace, we aim to expose the truths about the health and fitness industry. The information and suggestions given in this podcast should not be considered as clinical or medical advice. Consult with a physician before implementing any information provided on this podcast. And we're here with another Q&A.
I was waiting for welcome.
Oh, yes. Welcome to Metabolic Radio, the only podcast to listen to.
Oh, my gosh. It's beautiful.
No, there's other good podcasts out there
beautiful
that we aren't going to mention, but
it's all good. I will say this, because I have not mentioned it before. Mike Matthews.
For sure.
I dig his stuff.
Okay. That's
We'll
a good one. So a couple good questions this week. Let's just jump right in. Steve would like to know which type of protein we recommend.
Was that Steve Wood?
I don't know, actually, because the email just had Steve.
That's very funny to me.
So, I don't know.
You said Steve Wood. Steve Wood.
Steve would like to know. I assume by type of protein, I'm going to go ahead and say not a brand. I'm going to say which, because there's different sources of protein supplements. And I'm going to talk about that angle.
So why didn't you research this person so we know if he's asking because he's a vegan?
Because it only has a first name.
What if he's a vegan?
Well, then that's what I'm saying is we're going to talk about that. So, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You said you were going to go first.
I am.
Actually, you said you were just going to go. You never said anything about going first. You just were.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when it comes to protein supplements, you have milk-derived ones like whey and casein, right?
Yep.
You'll see other forms of those, like you'll see caseinate and milk protein and different forms. You have egg, albumin, or egg-type proteins. You're going to have plant-based proteins like brown rice, pea protein, hemp protein is one of those as well. So pretty much, if let's say he is vegan, right? Then yes, obviously he's not going to prefer to eat a whey-based supplement because
or egg or
because those protein sources are animal-based
or beef, which is carnivore.
Because
that is a protein powder.
Yeah, beef is definitely a protein powder.
No, they have one carnivore.
Are you serious?
For real and for true.
Oh, I think you're right. I haven't looked into it, but I remember
I'm very well aware
hearing
that I'm
something.
Right.
Okay, so I would say actually the best protein that I would recommend would be the protein that you most need. Boom.
Well,
it depends on the context.
That's kind of a weak way to go, dude.
No.
You got to say they could use whey even if they're a vegan, but they won't. So pea would be better for them.
You could say that too. But no, I'm serious. Like if they're lacking in protein diversity, then I would okay, for example, I've looked at a lot of research comparing effectiveness of whey versus plant-based, and there needs to be more research done on it. But there's some evidence suggesting, depending on the methods used, that they might be just as comparable in terms of absorption rates. Obviously, whey protein has more branched-chain amino acids. We know that.
He saw me roll my eyes.
Yeah.
So he was.
You got to let me finish my point.
Yeah,
so it depends on the context under which you mean a better protein, right? But in terms of absorption,
that's fair, actually.
If he's looking at nutrient timing and like we've talked about amino acid uptake and things like that, which is something that only really an athlete needs to be worried about, in my opinion, or someone competing. Then like I said, protein diversity. Like I don't take a whey protein right now. I actually I have a plant-based, but I get plenty of dairy-based proteins in my diet.
Is this the one that I've tried?
No.
It's not that one.
It's not that one.
Really?
Yeah.
You've shocked me a wee bit. I was unprepared for this.
But I do that to get more amino acid diversity in my diet.
Well,
and it
would actually
is,
help with gut
it is
flora too.
convenient,
Actually,
but I would say in terms of highest quality, as I've mentioned before in past episodes, whey protein isolate would be the best in terms of quality. Now, if you're talking brands, I'm not going to say brands because honestly, there isn't a brand out there yet that has fully impressed me in terms of its additional ingredients and additives and things like that.
Researched it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really put my name behind anything right now. But I think there's places out there where you can get just the plain flavorless or tasteless whey protein isolate extract that might have like one preservative in it or something like that.
I'm sure it's out there. I haven't looked.
So you could do that, add it to smoothies, but that's why I would recommend it, because this science just shows it's got the best quality versus others.
Unless, of course, you're vegan.
Yeah, and if you're not going to have a animal-based protein, then you would go with a plant-based. That would typically they're usually a combination. I would not go with soy.
No, I would walk away from soy.
Do not go with a soy protein. Don't go. And if you do go with a whey protein, make sure you go with isolate, because concentrates and even hydrolyzed or hydrosylates, however people want to pronounce it, but they are not as good a quality because you're not going to net as much of that protein value, and they have lower branched chain amino acid contents typically. So that's why isolate is the best of those. And but yeah.
Surely.
Anything else you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. All right, cool.
So moving along.
Sarah wants to know how to get rid of stubborn belly fat.
Don't call it back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yep. They may call you. Just don't call them back.
You're getting beyond the point of no return, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit. It's all right. We'll get through
it. So, anyway, stubborn belly fat. Often, primary contributors that I always talk to people about are simple carbs.
Yeah.
Things that cause visceral fat storage, which would be like high fructose corn syrup, especially will do that.
Which is a simple carb.
Yeah.
It actually is a process.
It's not
extremely processed, actually.
That
would be drinks usually.
Other factors are hormone levels like high cortisol and low testosterone.
Yes.
You also have genetics that contributes to that, or can, and alcohol intake. Those are like kind of the main primary ones.
This is true.
Really? You're not going to comment on anything?
No, I was actually thinking about the fact that that females have a higher tendency towards that.
Towards abdominal fat?
Specific.
Really? Why is that?
Low belly, because they're hormone based.
Really?
That's my understanding.
From what I
Oh wow.
From what I understand, it's more hip that lower body.
Well, that's funny.
Lower body.
I had done so well too.
The lower body.
I'm getting that look.
I can't think of the word. Predisposition to just storing in their lower body based on hormone profile.
It's based hips, lower abdominal, legs.
Interesting. I tend to see much higher rates of abdominal fat and belly fat in men than women.
Okay.
That's also an evolutionary trait too. Like, so you've got a lot of factors that are contributing. Like genetics determines. It depends on what kind of research you're looking at, but 25-50% of your body type and thus your hormone profile can be influenced by genetic factors. So some families that you'll see it. Sometimes you see a family and they're all heavy set in the lower region. They're heavy set in the upper region. They're all heavy set in the abdominal region. And sometimes that's just a way that it is. And another factor to consider is that. Your body's protecting your organs. So the visceral fat and the abdominal fat, that's protecting the more vital parts of the body for survival. Sometimes that's the last place that it will go from, despite other things like genetics.
Well, and that depends on the person directly anyway, because body fat is very distinct to the person, actually.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And then, so obviously, ways to get rid of stubborn belly fat. Assess your alcohol intake. If at all. That's one of the highest things in the glycemic index. That is just high pronality towards being stored as especially visceral fat. And you've got different kinds of fat. You have visceral fat, which is the most unhealthy fat that is oriented around the organs, and you have subcutaneous and intramuscular body fat. Those are not as bad of health markers in terms of body fat. So if you seem to have like a belly that kind of protrudes outward, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of fat around on top of your abdominal muscles, might be more visceral fat that you want to look at targeting. And when I say targeting, you can't spot treat, but understanding how fat is stored in your body, that'll give you a good idea. If it's more visceral or the intramuscular or subcutaneous, that is going to be can be just kind of accumulative fat storage or from other factors. But visceral is something that is more identified towards things like alcohol consumption, the types of sugars that are manufactured that your liver can't fully process, like high fructose corn syrup. Some people attribute belly fat storage to things like gluten, and when you get into that, it can often be a water storage thing and inflammation related. So, and what people often refer to as bloat. So really looking at making sure you're eating a very clean diet. If you personally feel like there's reduction when you take gluten out, whatever, you can do that. Making sure you have the appropriate electrolyte balance, so you have the right amount of sodium and potassium and other electrolyte intakes in accordance with the right amount of water. That'll help with that. Oftentimes people see belly reduction just from those techniques. But then, like I said, moderate the alcohol consumption, moderate any processed sugars and sugar in general, because it's pro-inflammatory and it's higher on the glycemic index, so it's more likely to be stored as body fat. And Shane, what else?
I think you've done well. I like I said, I would lean towards going ketogenic for a time, but just because it helps with metabolism.
Intermittent fasting. There's some good science supporting intermittent fasting will actually help reduce specifically visceral body fat storage. So that'll actually help you produce a healthier environment around your organs. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, there's some tips on that. Next is from Kaylee. Should I eat before a workout?
You know what's funny? I want to go historic
so basically what she was getting at is that she has been told it's easier to burn fat if you go into a workout fasted, but she's getting lightheaded, and she also wants to build muscle and has heard that you need to fuel the metabolism right and get fuel in before the workout so you have energy to actually push weight.
Well, that's different.
Well, yeah.
That does change the answer completely, actually.
Well, it does. So we should talk about both contexts, but what was the point you were going to make?
I was going to make the point that if we had discussed this years ago, you would have been like, you need to eat before you come work out.
I would still say that.
See, and I would argue that.
Well, see, but again, it depends on the situation.
This is true. I think that
technically, do I eat before my workout? Yeah.
Circumstantially, based on the exact specifics of this question, I would say you need to work out because you're lightheaded.
You need to work out because you're lightheaded, or you need to eat before.
That's what I meant to say. I'm lightheaded plainly because.
So
did I eat before we had this discussion? Probably, but it was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay, in terms of muscle building, there's a lot of science to support carbohydrate intake will help obviously with energy and your glycogen stores, which will help with energy to be able to actually move weight, since you're going to be lifting usually in a range that's going to require glycogen as part of that because of the metabolic energy pathway that you're in when you lift weights. For strength output, typically it's optimal. Now, if you're practicing metabolic flexibility and you can work out fasted and you're doing something like a ketogenic diet, or you're just used to a higher fat intake, then you could actually work out fasted. I've done both. I've seen strength outputs and PRs doing both high carb and also when I was on ketogenic. So it's not to say that one is better than the other. It really kind of depends on where you're at right now. Maybe the intensity, depending on the intensity of your workouts, because I don't know what your workouts are like, but if the intensity of your workouts is too high, then maybe doing it fasted is too much, so lower the intensity. Or if you're just kind of doing set rest and just kind of doing a normal, not super high intensity weight training regimen, and you're still getting lightheaded, you probably should still have some forms of carbohydrates, or look at what you're eating the day before and the morning of the day that you work out, and assess if your overall nutritional intake is adequate, because it could just be this cumulative effect of being undernourished, that you're going into your workout already with low blood glucose, or you're just not taking in enough dietary fat if you're doing more of a flexible dieting type thing. So, but there's you can do both. Fasting, working out while fasted, I've done it as well.
But I would argue in the case of this specific question, since it's based on the idea that they're getting lightheaded.
But I mean, for other listeners, can it be done? Yeah,
sure.
It's not that one way is right or wrong. It really depends on your situation, your goal, and your fitness level. Because working out fasted can be dangerous if you're not acclimated to it, because your blood sugar can drop dramatically. You can go hypoglycemic, and I've seen it happen.
Yeah, but I think that's more based on the idea that they have a predisposition to doing that.
No, man, I've seen it happen in so many people, like really? Working with other trainers and seeing them push like in entry level clients super hard to.
Yeah, that's stupid training. So
it is, but
the only
but some people
process,
push themselves.
No,
that way.
You're right on that too. But what I was going to say is if you take into consideration. Okay, so let's take me as an example again. I when I went low carb, and I kind of got my body more acclimated to it, working out fasted wouldn't even have been a big deal. I had to get my body to the point where I could do that. But see, since I have tendencies towards hypoglycemia, then I'm going to have problems with my blood sugar levels because of that nature. When I start working out fasted, it would be a problem for me. That being said, because I'd done that, it wouldn't have been an issue. Mm-hmm. So. If you noticed, I was quiet because I was searching the internet.
For what?
I was trying to find lower belly body fat between men and women comparison, and I failed.
Yeah, but see, it's like it's to the point where if you just follow normal protocols with that question, which we're jumping back to the second one question.
No, we're technically only doing that because I failed.
Anyway, I think that's
irrelevant.
Yeah. So
we've already answered that question. We'll move on.
So yeah, to answer, should I eat before a workout? If you're currently too lightheaded, decrease the intensity. If you can't decrease the intensity any further, then you should eat something and have it digested and absorbed and circulating. So if that's solid food, you need at least a few hours, depending on what it is. If you do what I do, like I eat a hearty breakfast, I have a mid-morning snack, I work out around lunchtime, and so it's been a few hours before I've eaten, and that's just what works for me. I like to eat more in the morning.
You could be a little creative. You could spike it. If you took simple carbs, you could do that during.
And I was just going to say that's what I do is I take in about 20 to 30 grams of simple sugar in the form of coconut water. It gives me a big dose of potassium.
That's a good choice.
And then I do my amino acid and electrolyte combination that I custom build myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that the sugars actually increase the sensitivity of the amino acid uptake. So that helps with protein synthesis helps get those other aminos into my bloodstream for what I specifically want them to do and for the effect of my workout, because like I said before, I do like the pump, I do like the amped up feeling, but I don't want to take a bunch of crap that's in small tiny ineffective doses paying a premium for a supplement, so I build my own.
Well, you went fairly intelligent though with the idea of coconut oil. Coconut
water
based water.
Did I say oil? I meant water.
No, I probably said oil just because that's in my head. Mm-hmm. But because of the nature of what it does, having potassium tied in, it makes it work a lot more effectively.
Like sports drinks aren't a bad idea if you're in need of them. However,
absolutely,
like I say, like we say, you should really look at your overall diet and get your diet in check. And typically, if you're eating enough over multiple days and it's balanced and you're getting enough of the right balance of proteins, carbs, and fats for you, you should have an adequate energy an adequate amount of energy to be able to go into a workout, even if you haven't eaten for a few hours. So I wouldn't say that it's mandatory for you to eat right before a workout right now. You need to assess your overall nutrition and check to see if you're under-fueling yourself first, and get on a normal amount of intake that's appropriate for you. And then if you're still getting lightheaded, then I would probably plan some type of snack a few hours before, or
well, you also did some smart stuff. So when you if you're lightheaded when you're working out anyway, the first thing you do is control your intensity. That makes sense. If you're at that point, if you have the capacity because you've brought stuff, you can spike it during, as long as you don't have problems with insulin. And because if you have insulin issues, you don't want to spike it like that, because that could be a problem if you're like a type 1 diabetic. You don't want to spike it. Even you can do some stuff. You just have to be able to scale it out and be smart about it, because you got to do insulin shots and stuff alongside of it. But you could do things like that. Things like apples will give you a little bit, but it wouldn't really affect you fast enough for a workout.
That's why I'm saying if it's solid food, you got to give it time to absorb.
No, you're right on that. Anything solid, but you can take sugar-based drinks. I mean, even if they had
the reason
if
why
they had juices, it would help.
The reason why simple carbs and liquid sugars work is because they are already typically in their simplest form, or very close to,
and they absorb fast.
You can actually salivary amylase, if I'm pronouncing that right, I always can never remember, is a digestive enzyme that'll actually start to break down and absorb simple sugars actually through the gums, and it can go straight into the bloodstream. And then when it enters your digestive system, when you consume the rest of it, it's a very quick process, because it's already broken down. It doesn't need to be broken down any further.
Which makes sense.
So that's why you get a rapid blood sugar spike, and that's why they're simple carbs.
So, but if you knew that was going to be happening, you could prepare for that, and then you could actually probably work out more intensely, because at that point you're going to want to start fighting against the sugars, and working out heavier is going to actually cause that to metabolize differently. So, So hopefully that gives you some ideas on you're going to have to look at your individual situation to determine that. But as of right now, probably eat something. Look at your overall nutritional intake. Lower the intensity of your workout if you can first, and go from there. Yep. But you can do a workout fasted. I've done it with intermittent fasting protocols. I'm not saying this to her specifically anymore, but just people in general. Don't stick with any one dogmatic approach to nutrition. Like, everything needs to be flexible, as we've talked about, and each individual is different. Each case is different, and your goals and your case and your fitness level are all going to call for different protocols. And so it's just understanding those different options that you have, because I've played around with so many different options, and workouts have been effective in many different ways. Right.
So
like we always say, you got to take the perspective of the individual, and in every question we ever get, you got to look at it from the side of the person that's asking the question to see where they're at. That's why if
there was more information, it would be nice, but it was good that we knew that she was getting lightheaded, because that gives us some insight.
Yeah, well, no, and for rapid reactions to it, you got to deal with it fast. So that's how you deal with it. But, sweet,
cool. All right, quick Q&A this week, people. So if you have any other questions, just go ahead and submit them on the group on Facebook, Metabolic Radio Private Forum, and we will get to them.
Yes.
All right. Peace out. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Shane and I hope you learned something new and exciting today about your own health and fitness. Head over to metabolicradio.com. There you'll find our bios and our results-driven programs that are designed to help teach you everything you need to know when it comes to getting real permanent results. You can also sign up for our newsletter to get free weekly updates. To chat with Shane or I, just email us at taylor@metabolicradio.com or shane@metabolicradio.com. We would love to hear from you. You can also join the conversation on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search for Metabolic Radio Private Forum. There you can request to join the group. We would love to add you to the conversation and answer your questions on the show. And hey, if you like our podcast, please help us grow our community by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. We would really appreciate your help. Thanks again so much for all your support and your listenership. Now go out there and spread the good word of fitness.